I'm here with Lizette Slogar from Fuse Salon in Frankfurt. And Liz is absolutely beautiful. And I went to high school with Liz, and I thought I would reach out to her as an esthetician and ask her for some advice on my skin. I've been looking for a new skincare line, and we've chatted a lot about different products, and I've been searching, and I said, can you just FaceTime with me or Zoom with me so we could have a virtual session and you can tell me about old women's skin, because that's how I feel right now.
We all feel a little bit old after the whole quarantine, I think.
So I'll actually take my glasses off because it's not going to help you see these big, terrible circles. I know you have the Italian circles too, but I don't see them on you like I do on me. So I wanted to talk about skincare first. Maybe if we have a few minutes at the end, I'd like to talk about your feeling on some of the other procedures or fillers or Botox or this or that. But right now, I know that you mentioned a while ago, time to grow up, time to move on to something more than the department stores or the equivalent. So tell me a little bit about the different types of skincare. And then I would like to show you all my flaws and you tell me what I should do for myself.
Okay. Well, I mean, every single person on the planet has a different physiology and histology, and their skin is totally different. So, going through your life in puberty and post-puberty and menopause, which, yay, menopause, woo-hoo. Things change. So you have to change with, each phase of your life. Your skin will produce oil at a different rate throughout your life. Even in, our late, I'll call it very post-puberty stage, we still produce an amount of oil. So how you utilize that oil is how you maintain the moisture level at the surface of your skin. So most of the time when people complain about fine lines or, dehydration at the surface, things that make them look old, we can quell that by addressing, first of all, how much oil they produce and how to utilize the oil that they produce at the surface to get a long-term benefit or meet a long-term goal. But the first thing that you have to talk about when you talk about aging skin is sunblock, because 90% of all the aging that we do outside, or the physical aging that we see ourselves do, is solar aging. Only 10% is intrinsic or going to happen anyway. Isn't that crazy?
And I know we worship the sun in Illinois. Yeah. Oh, it's hot out. Let's lather on the baby oil. Yeah. I go out way less in Arizona than I ever did in Illinois, but still, just to walk to your car here, it's crazy sun. So I do wear a daily sunscreen, and I wear a separate sunscreen, and that's thanks to something you said once on your page. So I do have a separate sunscreen that I put on every day. And I put it on my hands too, because I hate when. So this is something funny. I remember some of our mutual friends. I know exactly who it is, but I'm not going to say it. She used to tan her hands. She's like, I need my fingers tan. And she had, put her hands out like this to get nice tan, long fingers. And I loved that. I thought that was great. She was a few years older than me. And I was like, oh, I need tan hands. And now I'm like, could you laser off these horrible sunspots? Yes.
Yeah. So there's so much to say when we talk about sunblock, or sunscreens, sunblocks, whatever. There's so much to say about it because the products themselves and how they're developed are going to give you a result post its use. So let me talk about that. So when you talk about sunblock, everybody always used to say, if it's a 15, it's a black and you can't do better. But I want to tell you why that's not exactly the truth. So when they develop sunblock and they're going to give it a sun protectant factor or an SPF, in the lab, they apply the product the thickness of a dime and they don't rub it in. And then they test the SPF 30 minutes after it's applied. Well, none of us do that. You don't put it on the thickness of a dime. You absolutely do rub it in, and you don't wait 30 minutes to be exposed.
I try to wait these days because I know it takes a little while. I do try to wait, but sometimes you can't.
Sometimes you can't. So the reason that you would say you would want a block that's stronger than a 15 or more SPF is because it'll do a couple of things. First of all, you don't have to apply it the thickness of a dime to get more than a 15, okay? And longevity-wise, it breaks down about 10 points every hour. So 10 points of SPF is gone for every hour that you don't reapply. How many times do you put it on, put your makeup on, walk out the door and don't think about it again until you get home and you wash your face. In all those hours, you're experiencing breakdown. So if you start, let's say, with a 30 and you put it on not the thickness of a dime and you do rub it in, you're already starting at maybe a 15, maybe. And every, say, hour to half hour, you're losing 10 points of efficiency. So basically, when people come into me and they're complaining of sunspots, or they have lots of sunspots on one side of their face, but they put on a sunscreen or they put on what they're calling a block every day, it's because the product you're not using the product the way that you would need to in order to prevent the melanin from being produced or the sun damage from occurring. That's number one. So starting high is better. Okay? So I use 100 plus every day. I like to start with the Neutrogena 100 every single day, even in the winter. I know in Illinois people are like, what? Yeah, even in the winter. And then around my eyes, I use the little baby stick, the sunblock that's like for infant skin. Anyway, I like the sunblock, the little baby sunblocks. It looks like a giant chapstick. And then it's safe for use around your eyes. And I'm going to tell you a little trick about that.
Good, because right now I go like this to here with my sunblock, and I don't put any around my eyes. I just figure up to here is enough.
It's not, because the tender area around your eyes is even more susceptible to reflective light from lenses and things like that. The infant block is a physical block. It's made of titanium dioxide, which is like putting like a blanket over your skin or like a piece of fabric. It's fine, but it'll only be about a 60, which is okay because it doesn't break down the same way that a chemical block does, okay? So you get more longevity out of it, and 60 is a good block. But what you can do is take a little bit in the palm of your hand and put a little bit of your concealer with it. Mix it together and pat that on. So you're going to have at least a 60, possibly more if your concealer has a little opacity, and that'll protect your tender lid area, and it won't hurt if it gets in your eyes. So that's really vitally important to skincare going forward. Even if we baked ourselves in the 80s and, laid out with oil, oil on our face and iodine in the oil and on a roof with tinfoil, yeah. All of that damage, although it's there, you can make it look invisible if you do all the things that you need to do to keep the surface hydrated and free of melanin production.
I know we'll get to me, but which is what some of these things are that's showing through. They've zapped and they come back. They just keep coming back.
Yeah. Anytime that if the skin has been damaged and produces that melanin enough to have that sunspot, any exposure at all, even through a sheer sun screen, is enough for the melanin to be produced. So even through a window, people don't think about that. If you sit near a window, especially in Arizona, as long as there's exposure, even reflective light can be enough to cause the melanin to reproduce. So when we have sunspots, you have to use a complete and total block every single day on those areas to prevent the melanin from keep reproducing. So that's priority one, because that's really
priority one. Then would be to get rid of the spots to start again, so that they don't come back.
Well, and that's what I want to talk about, because we can do that. There are a million chemicals that can reduce or take completely away the look of the melanin damaged skin, but you could do all that stuff. If you're not completely blocking it, it's going to come right back. So investing in removing them is actually secondary to completely blocking them. What I'll have my guests do is start the complete block, do that for about a month. They'll start to see the spots fade a little bit. Then we go full bore with all the chemical agents that we can use to get them completely gone. And there are so many. We tend to lean on vitamin C, but it's unfortunate that it's been so popular because it can't be stabilized and still be useful in removing melanin pigment in the basal layer. It has to be unstable. So the product that we recommend has to be mixed weekly in order for it to actually do its business. It takes about 2 rounds, which is about 8 weeks or 2 months, and the spots are gone. With you and talking about your skin, the things that occur to me first and foremost are making sure that you're using a block that's complete. Then we can start with vitamin C to get rid of any spotting that you hate. Okay. And actually, this is just mind-altering when you learn it. Vitamin C was developed not for changing the melanin production in the basal layer. That's not what it was for. That's its side effect. It was developed because it will not tighten, but sort of shore up the elastin in your tissue, in your skin. It doesn't, nothing causes you to reproduce collagen. That's a myth. You can't drink collagen and you can't, and get it to make your skin have more collagen. That's a myth. And you can't damage the skin and cause collagen to be reproduced in
the rollers that everybody's trying to sell.
Right. So when you take collagen in by mouth, collagen hits your stomach acid shreds it. It has very little viability beyond that. It passes through your colon and it's expelled as waste. But collagen can help. The nutrient that you take from it, the different proteins, the things that it can give you when you're metabolizing it can help with, bone-on-bone joint issues. We talk about glucosamines and things like that. And those are all similar elements that will help with softening those areas, but it isn't a magic bullet. You don't just drink it and you're like, look at me. It doesn't. If it did, I mean, boy,
darn,
we'd look amazing. It doesn't work that way. And also let's talk about the damage portion of it, because that's a big thing people are hearing. You're going to take a pin roller and, roll it over your skin and puncture the skin, and somehow that's going to cause penetration of something, or the damage is going to make you make more collagen. And that's a misnomer as well. The skin doesn't have that ability. When you puncture the skin or you break the skin, your skin's first function is to quickly close the hole, because its purpose is to keep the interior body sterile. It's your largest organ, and it's got a really important purpose. But in being that purpose, it can't allow those puncture marks to remain. So what it does is it takes the collagen that is present in the tissue and it shoots fibroblasts to close the holes that you've made. It's not new collagen. It's taking the collagen that's present in the tissue and fibroblasting those holes shut. So the idea when they say, by causing this damage, you're going to produce new collagen, that's not true. You're going to take the collagen that's present and you're going to make scar tissue.
Because I could walk into most salons right now and someone would sell me that.
Yes, I know.
Very scary.
It's horrifying. When I teach in my industry, I'm controversial because I'm stating scientific fact that doesn't match the narrative to sell. Scar tissue is not skin. Once those fibroblasts happen, it forms scar tissue, and scar tissue isn't skin. It is not a pliable, soft surface that is fed by your sebaceous production and blood supply so that it maintains its integrity. It's not any of those things. It is hardened fibers that are there to secure and close the skin. It's very weak. If you've ever seen somebody who has a large area of burn, like they were set on fire, and all that striated, thin, that's scar tissue. So basically what you're asking your skin to do is create scar tissue in the hopes that it would look better than your skin.
And I'm a picker. I have been my whole life. So I know when there's areas in my skin that don't feel the same. They're not all soft and nice.
And that's the reality is you can look at the areas of your skin that have been scarred and say, it doesn't look as nice as if I had let it heal as best it could, and minimize the scar tissue. So I'm not an advocate of ever damaging the tissue. If you can do things to maintain its integrity and its health, in 50 years, you'll be, mark-free and in a better position. So I can't imagine, let's just call it 10 years from now, some of those people that are advocating for that and they're doing these procedures so aggressively, I can't imagine that they're going to say, here's tissue that was never damaged and here's tissue that was damaged. And they're going to say, oh, the damaged tissue looks way better. Let's keep doing that. That's the reality.
Well, I know we don't have a ton of time and we're going to get into some other stuff, but I also want to know your thoughts on laser then, because there's these lasers out there does that damage your skin?
Briefly, I can state that fairly briefly. There are lasers that do all sorts of things, okay? When it was introduced, it was to resurface tissue that was already scarred. So people that had severe pock marking, they would laser that surface basically off in lieu of doing physical dermabrasion, not microdermabrasion, which doesn't actually take off the dermis, but dermabrasion, which uses a steel wool rotor and grinds off the entire surface. It's very brutal, but it's basically a good way to get new tissue, scar tissue to form that looks better than horrible pockmarking. Okay, so the idea was the skin's already severely damaged. We're going to make those scars look better. That was the theory. So laser tightening now, I want to say a couple things about it. When you superheat the lower parts of the tissue to cause that collagen rebirth, supposedly, you don't. You do scar it deep within the tissue. It does look tighter and firmer and kind of better initially. You're asking that tissue basically to scar deeply and very evenly below the surface. There are indications for it. However, the tissue that is not done that way and the tissue that is done that way, where that meets in 10, 15 years, I mean, you have to think about how that's going to look. It doesn't always look great when the rest of the tissue doesn't have that hardened, kind of closed scar tissue below the surface. A really skilled surgeon doing a great surgery is different than actually damaging your skin, like what you said. So you have to think about like the bigger picture and the long term. I feel like if you do the very best you can do chemically at this time in our lives, it's 2020. I know it's the worst year ever, but we know so much now. You can do so much to prevent and to improve the surface that sometimes that ends up being enough without something drastic.
Well, good. Let's get into that.
The best advice I can give everybody is that hours of good humidity do wonders for the surface tissue in terms of being able to hold moisture or hold water.
Well, that was you who told me to put a humidifier in my room. I remember that, and I did it. And what I ran into is the humidifier said that it was going to get moldy and I had to clean it every day. And I was like, I don't want to clean this thing every day, and I want to stick it in the cabinet. So,
here's my answer to that.
Okay.
Of course, yes. They have a wonderful new product, which is a bottle top humidifier. Screw it on the top of any water bottle and put it next to your bed, and it'll give you hours of humidity, and you don't have to worry about it because it's a new bottle of water every day.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Okay, well, good. That's on my list too. Sunscreen 100 and bottle humidifier.
And a bottle top humidifier. And to go with the bottle top humidifier, hyaluronic acid, I know it's a huge buzzword right now, but it's been in everything for a million years, and it can't hurt you. It's a plant-derived humectant that is a water attractant, and it is something that our bodies already have, so it likes it. So you can put on a product that has hyaluronic acid in it. We have a couple of them at my work. One is an environmental repair gel that is made just to bind with free radicals and deposit some hyaluronic acid at the surface. It's wonderful for sunburns. That's what it was made for, but even more so for aging skin, to wear underneath a barrier or a heavier moisturizer, something to bind the moisture to your skin, along coupled with that cool mist humidifier at night. And honestly, nothing will change your skin's surface quicker and better than that. It's a simple combination, but it works.
I'm excited about it, and I don't have any of that right now. Like I said, I'm out of everything.
The other thing that's really important is normalizing your pH after you wash your face. It's something that everyone takes for granted. None of us think about it, but we use water that has been chemically cleaned, basically. It either has can have a host of chemicals in it, not the least of which is chlorine, and it lowers the pH when you wash your face. So it takes about roughly 6 to 8 hours for you to restore your natural pH yourself. But we can do it in a split second by hosing ourselves down with an element that will restore the pH in immediacy. And the reason that that's so important is that all the products that are made to use on normal human skin are at about a 5.5. So when you drop the pH of your skin during cleansing and you don't raise it back, all the products that you put on don't do diddly squat for about 6 to 8 hours.
So does it matter what you wash your face with? Sometimes I use nothing. I use a makeup eraser, you know what I mean? Or a Norwex cloth, just with nothing.
It does kind of matter. You should emulsify things that have oil in them. If you wear a base or a sunblock and it obviously has carriers or elements that keep it smooth, it could be any kind of mineral oil derivative, isopropyl myostrate, something like that. It should be emulsified with something that can emulsify it. So you can use different types of soap to do that, or you can use different types of creams or lotions or oils to do that, but you do need to emulsify it to remove it from the surface. Better to clean it thoroughly with something that can take those things off.
Is there anything over the counter that you like to wash your face with, or are you very into what comes with the systems?
Funny you're asking me that, because this is the only thing that I'm not a hardcore, like, you have to use something really good. You have to use something that cleans your face and rinses completely off. That's basically all you need. You're trying to clean it. It should be something that you can soap up with or lotion up with or whatever, and it rinses completely clean. If I was going to tell you something over the counter, I would probably say Neutrogena has some very gentle products to remove things with, as long as it's something that you feel you're completely clean when you rinse it off, because cleanser goes on and comes off. It's not going to change your life like long term, right? It should come on, get everything off, rinse completely clean. But what you tone with after is extremely important. So the chemical should be something that restores the pH. It cannot be witch hazel. It cannot be alcohol based. It can't have any evaporative quality whatsoever. It will not restore the pH. So I generally recommend, we have 2 different products that we recommend from our line that are safe and can be used even on radiated skin, so they're super gentle.
I'll put some links below to your salon and to your products and things like that, because everybody's going to want to know. I mean, that's why you're on here. I mean, I want to know. I'm ready to
I mean, look at me. I look
we're not even.
Of course, they're like, oh, look at her. She's blech.
That's what a day trip will do to you. I think you're beautiful. Okay, so face wash, restore the pH.
Yes, restore the pH. A good hydrator, meaning something that is loaded with hyaluronic acid and is a gel formulation so that it's not a layer. Molecularly, it has to be able to penetrate to get a little bit of water into those surface cells, and then put a regular, what we call moisturizer, over that to bind the water and create a barrier.
Now that's at night, or that's day and night?
I would say day and night. And then sunblock should be the last thing that goes on your face before makeup, because obviously you're not going to put it on after, but it should be the last thing that goes on, and it should be done at least a half an hour before you go out. So if you're going to layer, I would say cleanse, tone, and moisturize, or do your shower routine, whatever. Don't allow your skin to dry in between your steps. Keep water on it, keep it a little bit moist, and then put your sunblock on and then do your makeup. And then you have a good barrier, good surface to start the day. A lot of people now, we just kind of tint our sunblock so that we're not wearing a million layers. There's a million ways to do that. You can use any foundation that you love, mix it with your sunblock and apply it. It's a good way to do it. Nice and clean and easy.
Are you a proponent of different creams at night than during the day?
Depends on the skin. I do have some people that, they can't use a humidifier, or they love to feel that really heavy cream. I have a couple of ladies that they just want to feel like they're really putting a barrier on, and we'll play around with it. But in general, if you've got that gel plumping up those surface cells and a good barrier, you shouldn't need 2 different things. Eye cream should be similar. I mean, I always make sure that the hydrating gel is going on my eye area as well, and then a barrier over it. Correct. Mm-hmm. And there are some really tremendous products out there for the eyes that have caffeine in them. Tretinoin it's a vitamin A derivative that's actually it's a toxin, and it causes a long, slow burn across the tissue. So similarly to, developing scar tissue in any other method, it will produce over time scar tissue, which is smooth and, can look pretty good for a while, but the reality is long term, it's not used. I think there's a place for it in skincare, because there are times when that surface is really uneven or terribly scarred and you need to improve the look of the scar. I totally think that's a great way to do it. It's very slow, you can control it, it's got a lot of reason, but it isn't great for
it doesn't just do fine lines and things nicely. I thought, oh, I'm ready for that. I was thinking that was next.
Well, I think you can get really far not doing stuff like that. And I'd like to see how far you can get doing, regular, good, intensive, more sustainable, I guess.
No, I agree. I would much rather. I'm glad to know these things. I'll put my glasses back on so I can see you. But I didn't know if you wanted to see, a little close as best as you can, so you know what.
You still don't look that bad. I know. I know. We look in the mirror and we could tear ourselves to shreds.
It's terrible. It's terrible right now. Well, I'm just. It has been a long 3-month quarantine. So, what about the caffeine you were talking about?
Caffeine around the eyes is a new thing that, we've been doing it a long time, but now they have really intense caffeine products, and it increases circulation, so you can kind of in immediacy get rid of puffiness and get rid of some of the dark circles, because it is circulatory. That's
so
why.
Where does that go in the line of first you put on your hyaluronic acid, then your barrier, and then your sunscreen?
And then take a spatula. No. In the mornings, if like today, I didn't do it and I should have, but if I'm puffy in the morning, I'll slap on a little bit of that in lieu of an eye cream that I may have used, just to get the puffy down. It's a nice way to do it. I like those products. They also have a lot of vitamin K products out there. Vitamin K acts as sort of like a repellent to blood. It's really unique. You know how polar magnets push away? Vitamin K does the same thing with blood. So you can use it to heal bruises or get bruises to disperse more quickly. Works wonders around the eye area if you have blood collection that's creating dark circles.
Now, I had notes before from you. This was a while ago. And you said, explain the difference. So I'm going to you because I want a line from an esthetician as opposed to the grocery store, even the department stores.
Yes.
And then I know there's some prescription lines. So give me a quick rundown on that. And then you had mentioned, you said look for things with argyl aniline acetyl heptide 3.
Yes.
And matrolix 3000.
3000, yes. So, briefly, the difference between products is going to be that what you make to sell to 1 million people off of a shelf is going to be basically innocuous or not that active. If it were very active and did exactly what it said on that bottle, it would fry half the people that try to use it. What you buy on the common market or what is accessible to you on the common market will not be as targeted or as aggressive or loaded with good ingredients as something that you can get from me. So that's the big difference between what you buy at a store and what you get from somebody like me.
Percentage is different. The stores can't sell it.
Right. They just can't do it. So those two items that that you were trying so hard to are basically protein derivatives that are relatively new to skincare, and both of them restore the surface visually and help the skin relax. So the creases in the skin sort of kind of flatten out and look a lot smoother. So we use them to get rid of, like, when people have like pursed chins and you see them get that sort of like hamburger kind of look, or tiny fine lines around your eyes that look like they're going to be big lines. It'll sort of relax the tissue out and get it to kind of fall down a little bit. It's very gentle, it's very minimal, but sometimes it's more than what you thought you could get from a product that you just put on every day.
Are those ingredients in some of the things that we're talking about, or would they be additional things that I would get to add?
Well, both. You can do it both ways. If somebody really needs to be targeting, I will give them a serum form of those items. But that is really aggressive. So we have to make sure they're using everything else that we're prescribing so that they don't have like fry marks on their face from.
Yeah, and I think that's when I went to you before. I had gotten a facial and they used pineapple, and the pineapple burned my temples really bad. And you had sent me looking for something to help repair my skin because it burned, and it was so thin and almost wafery, like very shiny thin. So I'm very sensitive to that.
Yeah. So in prescribing, I would take all that into consideration and say, what can I give you that would be safe for you to use every single day? Because what you do every single day is going to give you your outcome. What I do in the hour in the facial room is great, but it isn't going to give you the outcome that you're going to get by doing something consistently every day at the sink. So what we do is try to prescribe those things in a proper dosage you're going to use it twice a day. This is how we're going to introduce it. This is where you're going to use it. And sometimes it's in the eye cream because that's where you need it.
So let's just say somebody who's watching says, I think you're the best thing in the world and I want you to sell me some products. Can you do this via Zoom or is this only?
Clearly, I'm fabulous.
Or should they go into their own esthetician? Or if they do go to their own esthetician, maybe a list of questions they could have. But if they could go to you, then that's great. And I'm going to list your info too, because the Zoom way is awesome. We're a small world this way. So
it's really cool. Yeah. I mean, I do a lot of consultation via Messenger on Facebook. People will send me pictures and we'll have a discussion there via Zoom. We've done a few of these, especially in quarantine. I've had a couple of Zoom meetings. It's been weird. I don't know. Those are the best ways. But yeah, if they have an esthetician in the area, I like to find out where the person was schooled and what the product line is that they're using so that I can actually guide them too. I mean, I teach to all estheticians. I don't teach to just people that use my product line or that I use or whatever. I teach to my industry. So I'm pretty familiar with what people are being exposed to. And I have a lot of good contacts all over the US. So I might be able to put you in touch with somebody that could help you if I can't.
Let's see what I need to get from you. And then after a while of doing that, then
I'd say 1 month and then you'll be ready.
Those other things you said, the other serums, the other things like that, we'll just have to look at that. And I'll have to find out if I need to go in and get facials. Oh, so you must think that monthly facials are a wonderful thing, right? I've never been a monthly facial person, so
everybody needs every month. That's not true.
Does
I'd be so rich if they did. No, not everybody. Some people I do see every month for extractions or because we're trying to do something that requires more aggressive servicing. But a lot of people I try to get to about every 6 months. Like a cleaning for your
nice
teeth.
Facial every 6 months is a good thing. I said I'd bring this up at the end. How do you feel about Botox, fillers, Voluma?
I'll be very blunt and very honest with you. It's not for me. I'm not into any of that for myself. Okay.
You truthfully could tell me you had it and I'd believe you. So you don't need it. So that's lucky. But
I don't need it. And I'm grateful that I don't need it, but that's been because I've been careful about my skincare. When you talk about fillers and you're talking about different forms of hyaluronic acid, based on how it's encapsulated, it'll either be long or it'll be fat or it'll be however that little encapsulation occurs, and it can fill some of the lines on people's faces. And I've seen it done very well. I do facials on people who have it done. You can feel the ridge in their tissue, but it looks, when you're looking at them, it looks nice. Hyaluronic acid, again, is something that we have in our body, so it's generally not something that you'll respond negatively to. You wouldn't swell up, you wouldn't turn red, but your skin will kind of absorb it and take it away, so you have to have it done numerous times. That's filler, okay? Filler is done to take, like, for instance, a divot or like a line that's really deep and puff it out visually, okay? Okay, so Botox is not that. Botox is the botulism toxin that has been cleaned. Its only function is to paralyze a muscle. Botox basically is used for the corrugator, sometimes for the crow's feet area. Now it's being used around the mouth, which I am horrified by, because when you paralyze a muscle, you can't utilize the muscle. So what I want to say is, I'm not going to give an opinion, but I'm going to tell you, if anybody's ever broken a bone, when you are cast, a few things happen. Because you cannot use those muscles, blood flow decreases to those muscles. The hair that is on the tissue over those muscles falls out, and the muscle, as it atrophies from non-use, becomes smaller. So if I shoot Botox into my corrugator and I paralyze that muscle, I'm going to lose my eyebrow hair over time, and you're going to have atrophy in the corrugator, which holds that tissue up. So what you see is this. I can't do it to me. See that ridge?
Yeah.
That's what happens if you do Botox for a long time in the corrugator. You get this.
I have that anyway from my glasses or something.
Yeah. Well, everybody gets an 11s or whatever. Like you can make the space and get your thing. But the ridge that happens down, okay? So you're going to have loss of hair, and you're going to have a ridge that forms over your nose, and then you need to have a thread lift to lift that up.
What's a thread lift? Like a facelift, you're saying?
No, they put tiny threads inside your tissue and pull them back into your head to like hold your tissue up.
Oh, so it's like a facelift that's not a facelift.
Right.
Sounds a little better, but scary. Okay.
Yeah. The other thing that happens in the corrugator, if you paralyze the corrugator, the brows are going to fall to the side. I can't do it because my face doesn't have that much skin, black skin, but your brows will fall to the side, so they somehow separate and kind of fall to the side. So then people get Botox in the crow's feet area because you start to see ridging over here with Botox in the corrugator. Botox here means that then when you smile, you can't get those little things that you get because you're happy. So now your face is going to not be mobile from that point up.
I've had it a few times, and I have a weird metabolism, and my body just gets rid of it.
Yeah,
and so it won't do anything, and it won't stay. And I'm supposed to have it for months more, and so I'm like, okay, well, I just spent $400 and it's gone. Right. So I don't do it, but not because I wouldn't want the results. I mean, it's nice that you don't have any 11s. I've got 11s, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I have on the one side a little thing starting, and it bothers me a little bit, but you know what? I'd rather have my facial mobility than, have that.
And Voluma is a filler too, right?
Voluma is a filler. That is not a Botox. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well, there's a question for you. Any good stuff to put on your lips?
There's a million things, but start with blocking them. Really, really putting on chapstick that has a 30 in it. Sun Bum makes a nice one.
Sun Bum?
Be sure you're protecting them, using a sunblock on them. They are the extension of the interior of your mouth living on the outside of your body. So it's the mucosa from the inside living on the outside. It doesn't take on moisture. It only emits moisture. It's a mucosa. Okay? So the idea that you could moisturize your lips is a misnomer. You cannot. You can use wax so that they don't lose more moisture, but you can't put moisture into a mucous membrane. If you get chapped lips, you got to do a few things. Firstly, you want to bring as much blood flow to that surface of the mucosa on the exterior as you can. I like things that are lip plumpers because they're really irritating and they bring a lot of blood to the surface. So if I get chapped lips, I start with my lip plumper, like it's my job all day long. And by the end of the day, I put on a cherry chapstick or any kind of chapstick that does not have camphor, menthol, or peppermint in it. Those things cause your lip to peel, which would be great if you had a cold sore. You could peel that surface off until it's gone, but it's not okay to use on your lips regularly.
That's good to know.
And the chap itself, the epithelial tissue that comes off, can be just scuffed off gently with a toothbrush in the morning. Yeah, I mean, there's a product that I really love to tout it's a Grande product. It's Grande. It's from a woman in New York that I met a long time ago. And it's a nice daily lip plumper, something you can put on constantly, and it'll help to, with blood flow to that area constantly, improve the look of those tissues.
Or I could smack myself in the mouth, right?
You could do that, yep.
Right. Or your brother used to go like this and squeeze your cheeks and slap your cheeks and come on, get a little blood flow to your cheeks. You can look healthy.
Right. Blood flow is the key to everything.
There you go.
We lose it over time, and that's really the key to staying healthy. So,
well, I'm excited to try new products because I need them desperately.
There really isn't a reason for things to be terribly expensive. If they're going to do what they're going to do, you can only do so much. So what are you really paying for? I mean, there's a limit.
Thanks a million for doing this. We'll do another quick thing in a month and we'll see if I'm starting to look better.
Oh, you're going to be very surprised how quickly things change.
I'm excited.